What?
Get your lunch.
No, what? Okay, you guys, evidently what has happened is the press release went out, but not to the Capitol Press Bureau.
Yeah.
And so they are not here. And they're all at lunch, they're not even down there in the press room. And so we're not going to get a press. If it had gone out under my name and our press secretary here had sent it out, which is what we should have done, we can certainly do that again at another time. Perhaps you would like to wait until after tomorrow.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll have some concrete
We'll have a little more stuff.
things to maybe talk about.
Well, if we could use this opportunity, Senator, to let you know what we do and how serious the problem really is.
Let's make it
And that the real
short.
here, make it short.
Come tell me, at 1 o'clock, you got, what, 15 minutes?
Oh.
So come sit down there and tell us.
Okay. Well, let's see, why is it, yeah, cameras are on.
I'd like to go ahead and start if I may.
This is Senator Harper here, who has been an absolute stalwart in this election integrity issue. And I am so grateful for him.
Absolutely. My name is Dan Gutenkopf. I am affiliated with an elections integrity group called Citizens for a Fair Vote Count. I've been involved in this election integrity issue for the last 12 years, and very closely working with Senator Karen Johnson. It was exactly 12 years ago this month when we had the problem with the presidential preference primary with Pat Buchanan, and midday all the reports indicated that Pat Buchanan was going to win the presidential preference primary. CNN had made that early prediction. Senator John McCain had indicated that it appeared Pat Buchanan had won. Governor Fife Symington also sent us congratulations. Well, sometime in the middle of the afternoon, the computers went down, and a few hours later that evening, as we awaited the results, to our shock and dismay, Pat Buchanan came in third place after having drawn large crowds here in Arizona everywhere that he went. And again, we had reports that the computers had gone down, the results were reversed. That set both Senator Johnson and myself on a quest to find out what was wrong, and in fact, it was that incident that I believe motivated Senator Johnson to seek office, because this is an issue important to her and to myself. Now,
I don't mean to interrupt.
Sure.
I might just say something. Sometimes I think whoever's involved in this tampering, or whatever you want to call it, may not be very smart sometimes, because if Pat Buchanan had come in a close second to Forbes, who spent like $10.50 a vote, you know, that would have been, I mean, we probably wouldn't have questioned it so much, because when we ran Pat's campaign, we were allowed to spend, I don't know if we even spent 25 cents on a vote per vote, you know, from what the money that we got to work with. But to have him come in kind of a distant third to Bob Dole, who was here one time at the airport, never went around the state. You know, Forbes was only here twice, went up to Prescott one time and was here in the Phoenix area, but Pat was here 8 different times around the state and just had a phenomenal following.
yes.
And as Dan so eloquently said, we did receive congratulatory calls. Fife Symington actually called that afternoon about 5 o'clock. He said, "Where is your victory party going to be? I will be there. I'm excited. I can hardly wait." We had no time to look at anything except working our tail ends off until 7 o'clock. When the polls closed, we hopped in our cars. We went over to what we thought was going to be a victory party. So you can imagine how we were dumbfounded to find out that he came in third, and I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine. Thank you, Senator. Well, in the last 12 years, I have done an extensive study of the ES and S software that has been used in that is election systems and software, which has been utilized in Maricopa County in the Eagle Optech 3 scanners. There was a very authoritative 16-page document by Relevance Magazine, which did a great deal of research talking about the trade secrets with the proprietary software that no one could examine it, and in effect it amounted to a secret count. Now, the principle of voting is that we have secret voting, but we have a public count. And in fact, I discovered Arizona Revised Statute Title 16, Section 601, which very clearly mandates that the count shall be public in the presence of bystanders. So after studying and getting familiar with all the vulnerabilities with the ES&S system, several times we made efforts to propose legislation to do what California and 3 other states had done, and then 2 years ago, 12 states passed manual audit counts, and then last year, Senator Johnson and myself and a number of other dedicated activists worked very hard to get Senate Bill 1557 passed, which allowed for a manual count of 2% of the precincts selected at random. I felt very good about this legislation getting passed, although I've heard from observers who have participated in the process since then that there are some problems, that it's not being effectively implemented. However, I have not been aware of the Sequoia system, which has been implemented just in the last year and a half. It's a new system. I just spent the last 48 hours going through these 3 manuals and researching in particular the report by the California Secretary of State, Deborah Bowen. She commissioned a red team of 8 scientists from University of Pennsylvania and also from Berkeley, California. And the red team, their whole purpose is to examine the software source code and to try and hack into it to see how vulnerable it is to outside attacks as well as inside attacks. And so I sat there and read line through this entire document. I've highlighted everything, I've made notes, and it absolutely blew my mind when I read about the extraordinary vulnerabilities of this Sequoia system. A lot of us have heard for quite some time about the vulnerabilities of the Diebold system and how shocking that was and how easily hackable it was. Well, Sequoia, let me tell you, is even worse than Diebold. And so I made just a short list of talking points, and I will quote Dr. Matt Blaze, who was one of the people that headed up this red team, and from the University of Pennsylvania. His conclusion about the Sequoia system is that this system is fatally flawed. That's his term, and he uses it over and over again. And I just made some brief notes after reading through all this material. Number one, the software code is not reliable, even if it were impervious to hackers. There's no reliability to the code itself. We don't know if it's going to accurately count our votes or not. Number two, the computers run on Windows Access, which is easily hacked into.
Microsoft Access.
Microsoft Access, yes. And that's easily hacked into. A lot of this software is just off-the-shelf stuff that anybody can hack into. Number three, there's no authentication that the software in the machines is the same software that is in the source code. So that's a problem. Number four, the passwords on the computers are easily discovered. They're easily overridden. That's a problem. So there's no security there. Number five, there's no effective cryptology to protect the security of the software program. And here with the ES&S machines, with the optical scanners from the precincts, those computers transmit the information from a modem from the precinct via phone lines to the central counting center. Well, though that can be easily hacked into, we've known of this for quite some time, that it's vulnerable from that standpoint. Number six, the removable media cartridges that come out of those optical scanners that then get transferred to downtown. Any poll worker who might have any knowledge of how to manipulate that data, they can easily manipulate those cartridges, and by the time the cartridge gets delivered down here, there is no guarantee that that data has not been tampered with, and if it was tampered with, there is absolutely no way to detect that with this system. There's no way there's no way to determine that.